How's it going, guys? Today I'll be doing a top end rebuild on this Pw50 with this aftermarket kit off eBay, which is actually a 60cc kit. In the 60cc kit, we get our head studs, spark plug, a head, barrel. As you can see in here, it's got its nice cross hatching, piston. We get our clips, top bearing, wrist pin, gaskets, and 2 piston rings. I've actually just completed a full engine rebuild on this 1999 YZ80 with using an aftermarket top end barrel and piston 85cc with great results. I was really amazed with the quality of it, and fitment gave a good compression, so we're going to give it a go on this Pw as well. This Pw50 was a little bit low on compression. There's a full rebuild on my father-in-law's YouTube channel. Not engine rebuild, like it was just an overhaul of the bike. Like, got it, not running, no spark. It was an absolute nightmare of a job. I'm glad he did it. But if you head to his channel, Sepp's Adventures, and go to his playlist, there is a Pw50 build in there. So now I'm going to tackle the top end on this. Righty, let's get into getting this top end off. Before I start, just want to say I'm not a motor mechanic. I'm a detailer. Just like doing this sort of stuff in my spare time, give myself something to do. First off, we'll get this spark plug off. Now, like I said, it was just a little bit low on compression. These are a low compression engine as well, so I believe the compression, that was pretty tight. The compression was sitting at about 90. I'd like it a bit closer to 100, these little Pw. So we'll just have a bit of a look at the plug here. Get to focus on that. My main concern is she's a bit wet up around here. So this could also be crank seal as well, with a bit of gearbox oil getting through it. But when we get the top end off, we'll test. Oh, I'm not going to be able to test the crank seal, but I'll have a look if there's any play in the bottom end. Get these head studs off. Now these are pretty rusted, so let's see how we go here. I'm glad the kit comes with new ones, because they're in bad shape. Alrighty, so here we go. I actually wasn't sure if this was a knockoff or a genuine Yamaha, but having a look at this head at least, that's got a Yamaha stamp on it, so the head is a genuine. I don't know if you can see that. I'll try to get the camera in there. We've got some heavy build up on this piston. So I think going through this top end is a good idea. And then once we've got it off, we can evaluate the rest of the engine as well. So next off, we'll get the cylinder off and have a look at that. Right, so now we've got to undo these head studs. A good trick to do. Everyone probably knows it. Put one on, one nut on. Put another one up to it. Put the 2 nuts on there, tighten them together. Then we use the bottom nut to undo the head stud. Oh, we better take this gasket off. Actually, metal gaskets on these, or aluminium, or whatever you want to call them. So the one that's coming off is flat on both sides. What I like to check is there's no, like, you can't see any exhaust or burns coming out one side, so it was torqued down relatively evenly. Normally if you see like one side all black, you could have been losing some compression out of there. if the head wasn't torqued down properly. Just want to note that when you're doing the head studs, the longer side thread goes into the engine. Important step that we have definitely missed, under the exhaust. So that's, if you ever want a small file, that's what you do. You pop that in there and you snap that off. So now down the track, if this file is ever too big, I've got this small one. So that's really handy. I've done that. So we're ready to come off. Alrighty. Let's have a look in here, guys. I'll try to get this on camera here. You can see just there. She's grabbing. Just that little imperfection there. The rest of it actually looks pretty good. So it's just that tiny little, you can just feel it. And you can see when I pull my finger down there, it's leaving a little bit of oil left over there as well. So that could be our issues. Also, she's a bit gunky up in here, so this passage here, fuel comes in the carburetor, goes into the crank on a two-stroke, piston comes down, compresses it, shoots it up a little channel going through here, and goes up and gets ignited at the top of the piston. So here being extremely gunky could be because that little imperfection in the wall there, and it's allowing it to come past the rings, and then just oil is just building up in there. Or another theory could be the crank seals might be on their way out, and a little bit of gearbox oil is coming through. So time will tell with that one. So we'll pop that aside. So I'm glad we're doing the top end on this. Now at this stage, what you want to test, actually it's probably better to do it with the piston off, is grab your connecting rod that connects your piston to your crank and see if there's any movement, like get it at top dead center and see if there's any movement coming straight up and straight back down. A little bit of side to side is alright, but up and down you don't want, and this is tight as, so that's good. So it does only just need the top end. So our next job is there's a little clip on the side here. We'll get that out. So we'll grab him out. Which is only a small piston. So this is your little clip here. Keep that one just in case, because when we put the next one in, twang, we've got a spare. This will allow us to pull out our rod. That's that. So now we can have a look at our piston. As you can see, I think good idea doing the top end on this. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this dark mark here would be the rings being worn and stuff getting past them. These gouges are obviously not supposed to be there. So that's that. Take out this bearing at the top. Now we can have a good feel of this crank. So I'll run you through my next theory. Alrighty, so at top dead center, there is no movement coming out forward and back from that bottom bearing there. So that's good news. Looking at our crank, what you want to look for is around this bearing. Around that bottom bearing, you want to see if it's bluing on the sides. Actually, I've got a crank over here that I'll show you on. This is a crank out of another motorbike, YZ80, that I did a rebuild on. What you want to look for on the crank when you're looking down is if there's any bluing or discoloration on these two here, because that means if you do see any discoloration or bluing, What that means is this bearing in here is getting hot, and that's called a hot spot. So that means that this is either on its way out, too tight, whatever. So looking at ours in there, there's no hot spots, but what I am noticing is the oil. So, and you can see when I rotate it, it's picking up a lot of oil off the bottom. Either gearbox oil coming through the crank seals, or is it unburnt fuel that's getting past all the imperfections in this piston and barrel, and then we're just getting a build up sitting at the bottom. So let's get this new piston kit in, get it all reassembled. We'll tidy up this gasket around here first. Careful not to drop anything in here, obviously. And we'll get it all back together. Sometimes with the replacement parts there is subtle differences. Our main concern is the overall length. These new ones actually look a tiny bit shorter. I'd be more concerned if they were longer. And the other difference is on the original, the threads come down a little ways here, just like these do. On the other end they go further, so that's where they're going to go into the actual engine. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. So I'll be doing the tiniest little drop of a product called Permalock, which is medium strength. Tiniest little drop, you only need a tiny bit. And having it medium strength, if it does need to come out, it will come out. I'll use JB Weld, gasket maker and sealant, just for a bit of peace of mind. A good light smear on that. So we'll pop it over. Right. So now we've got our gasket on. What we want to do, we'll lube up the bearing, lube up inside the connecting rod too. And we'll slide our new needle bearing in there. The piston rings can go on two ways. It'll be very hard to see. When you push the piston ring together, it's got a little cutout like that. So we want that facing up on this particular piston. So that's our two piston rings on. So when we insert the piston into the barrel, we just need to make sure they're lining up on these little tabs. We're good to go. Now really you should be, before this happens, get this piston ring, pop it in the cylinder, square it all up, check the gap. But we've only got two rings here. I'm not going to be doing anything about it if they're wrong. She'll be right. Lube up where the wrist pin goes, and lube up the wrist pin as well with 2-stroke. I've taken the gloves off because it gets a bit slippery doing all this. Popping our piston on, making sure the arrow is facing down towards the exhaust port. Slide that wrist pin through. So we'll get our next clip. So this next step is the step where it'll be great to have two people. What we're going to do is put the cylinder head on. Sorry, we're going to put the cylinder on, piston in, and we've got to get those rings compressed and slid in. This step is much easier with two people. Again, just lube up this cylinder. And we'll get going on here. Now we've got our cylinder down. Just slowly turn it over. Happy days. Just for those that are interested, this is your size difference between your piston, between old and new. You can see this side here. It's not going to be a huge difference, but it'll be a little bit different. The only thing in the instruction, well, there is no bloody instructions. The old one that's come out is just dead flat everywhere. This one, you can see how it has the indentation in it. Now I've set it up against both cylinder and head. And it doesn't make sense to me which way it goes. But I'm going to do it that way for the fact that it's going in the same direction as theirs. But it doesn't tell you, so this is a wild guess. So we'll pop it on. Time to put the head on, now that we've got that on. On the old head you can see down the bottom it says exit and in. This one does not. So what we're going to be assuming is exit is exhaust side. So that's the way I'm going to be putting it on. Nuts. When you're tightening these up, go opposite like that. Don't go all the way on one side or all the way on one bolt. Try to get it going down even. We've got our extremely overkill torque wrench. We've backed it out to 10. That's 10 Newton meters. We'll do the same. It won't go right to 10 straight away. We'll slowly go around and work the head down. Alright, so they're all torqued down. Our spark plug, the only thing I don't like about the spark plug that comes with the kit, it's got absolutely no information on it, but looking at it compared to the old one, it is shorter, so let's just hope they've got it right. Don't have to go crazy with the spark plug. Pop our lead on, do up our exhaust. Alrighty, in the morning we'll give it a kick over. Just check the time, it's 20 to 11. I don't think the neighbours would enjoy me firing this up. I don't think they'd be so excited about it as excited as I am. So overall, pretty happy with that kit, how it went together. The only thing I don't like, and I might actually change out, are these head studs. There was one that I couldn't get torqued down, even though it's in the head, in for the engine as much as it can go. I'm just, not real keen on those. So that's my only downside of this kit at the moment. Tested, like, feels like it's got good compression on the kickstart there. Right, it's full on day. We'll get this started up. Fuel on. See how many kicks it takes. There you have it, guys. That's the top end rebuild and first start up of the Pw50. It's a little bit smoky, a little bit more than normal. That's just because when we're assembling, we're putting 2-stroke oil on everything to lubricate it all up, so it just burns it off for the first couple of minutes. But it's had the idler nice, warmed up nice. So there you go. Let us know what you think in the comments. And I'll see you on the next one. If you're interested in more bike videos, the rebuild for this 99 YZ80 is on my playlist. If you go into there, there's a YZ80 playlist. Next on the chopping block after the Pw will be this 2002 CRF 450R. Another project. That's for another video.